Everybody has a story, and every story needs to be heard. On this podcast, we're talking with each member of the General Conference Leadership Council. I'm your host, Alyssa Truman, and this is A&N Profiles. Today, I am here with Aniel Barbe. He is the Associate Director of the Stewardship Department. Hello, Aniel.
Hello, Alyssa. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
And greetings to the A&N Profiles viewers.
Well, thank you on behalf of the A&N Profiles viewers. We're happy to have you here. We've talked about this for a while. We've tried to make it happen, and our schedules just didn't always want to cooperate with each other.
Finally, we are here together.
We are here together. You know, Aniel, you and I have a special relationship, a history that kind of goes back. When I moved to the General Conference,
We moved too.
you moved at the same time. And what some people maybe don't realize is that when we move here, most of us, we don't have homes, which is super fun. And so we live in a hotel for a while. And so for about 30 days, your family and my family and one other family, we all were living in this hotel together. So we'd get together in the evenings and talk. And you're one of the things that made the transition to working here so much easier for our family. So I'm thrilled that we were able to talk, because I feel like we are family, especially after that experience. But I realize I don't know that much about you. I'm sure there's a lot I'm going to realize I don't know
Let's
about
try to
you
talk
here.
about it.
So we're going to talk about it. So I know that you came from the Mauritius Islands, but tell me, were you born in the Mauritius Islands?
Yes, I was born there. Probably some of your viewers don't even know where is Mauritius.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point, because when I met you, I had no idea. So tell me, where are the Mauritius Islands, and are they beautiful? Tell us a little bit about where you were.
On some world map, you don't even see Mauritius.
Oh, no.
Because it is so small. Mauritius is in the southern part of the Indian Ocean. If you think of India, you go straight down, you will find Mauritius. Or if you look at Australia and then South Africa, right in the middle, you have Mauritius. One big island that is close to Mauritius is Madagascar. I'm sure you have.
That I do know of.
Yes, you have watched the movie. Mauritius is quite small. Have yours. From north to south, we'll talk about 40 miles. And from west to east, it should be around 25 miles. It is surrounded by beautiful beach, good weather all year round. For your next wedding anniversary, think of it.
I'll let Trent know. Actually, you can let Trent know. There you go. He can surprise me. So is it mountainous? Is it just beachy? What is the environment like?
I would say it's not mountainous.
Okay.
It's not. You have the coastal places, but it's not so high. And the weather is almost the same all around the island and all around the year. The minimum temperature, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius.
Okay, you can say Celsius. I'd love to tell you I can convert it in my head, but I can't.
In winter, it will go probably around 17 degrees Celsius. This should be around 55, 60. But people will complain that it's really cold. And then during summer, it will go to 30. This is cool.
So I remember, I grew up in upstate New York, here in America, and we moved to Texas after I got married and stuff. And I remember thinking that like Maryland and New York, they were so hot. And then I moved to Texas, and they were in a heat wave. So you're right. It's like people could think it's really cold. Cold is subjective. It's dependent on where you were raised.
You're right.
So
You're right.
it is freezing for you all. But if you were in Antarctica, not so much. All right. So you were born on the Mauritius Islands, which are between, or they line up between Australia, South Africa, and India.
Right.
Correct?
You
Excellent.
got it. Yes.
Get my geography badge today. So tell me a little bit about your parents.
Okay. To speak about my parent, I think I should start with the childhood of my mother. and father because they had some similar experiences. My mother was growing with her mom, my grandma, and my grandma was a single mother because my grandpa he left the house when my mom was very young. He was always gambling and a lot of affairs. This is my grandpa. We call him the wolf.
The wolf. Okay.
Yes, and by him leaving the house, this has created some challenges for my grandma and mother. Poverty was there, and also shame because in those days when you are a single mother, people don't ask the question why, but probably there's something wrong with you. And that was the inheritance of my mother and grandmother. But they are great women that has blessed my childhood. On the side of my father was an orphan from her mom when he was very young. And then at the age of 14, his dad, who was a fisherman, he went out fishing. He climbed the pole in the ship and he fell into the water and he was nowhere to be found. And that was terrible. Therefore, both my mother and my father, they came together and they were bringing losses and trauma into the wedding, into the new family that they were forming together. And this is how, but still, I think they did something great.
So, how did they meet?
How did they meet? I don't know.
You don't know.
Very good
Okay.
question. I have never asked. That's very interesting, Alyssa.
I find that on some of these people are like, I don't know that.
No, I don't know. What I know, they were growing in the same village, a
Okay.
very small village, and probably with 10,000 or 20,000 people. I'm sure they
Probably went to school together or kind of got to know each other in just
yes,
random
yes.
circumstances.
Both my parents, they went to school only until primary education, and then they had to drop out of school because it was too expensive for them to afford more than that. Yes.
So, what did your parents do for a living?
My mom, she's very active. She's a housewife.
That's very active. I know. I've been there.
Yes, and my dad has been a cook, a chef for 25 years. 25 years, and then something happened. He had to leave his job. Probably we can talk more about that later. But he was a chef, but he never cooked at home.
Oh, I was going to ask you if he had taught you all of his skills.
That's terrible. Nothing.
You learned nothing?
Nothing about that. Nothing. No.
That's very disappointing because I was
That's
going to bite
disappointing.
myself over.
That's very disappointing. But that's it. This
Right.
is my my parents, and also I, probably I should share something with you because we're talking about my dad's work. He was working 3 days. He was staying at the hotel where he was working, and then he would come back. And his absence was very hard on me. I felt unprotected during these days of absence, and I was going through a lot of things. And we can talk about that. Yes.
So let's start talking about this.
Yes.
So you were born, baby Aniel comes into the
Yeah,
home.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about your early childhood years.
Okay.
Is your family a Seventh-day Adventist family?
When I was born, no.
Okay.
I was born a Catholic, and my parents were Catholic in those days. I have to mention that I was not the firstborn. I had a sister who was born before me, and she died at birth. She died at birth, and in my family in those days there was a very strong conviction that she did not die naturally, that there were some supernatural powers at work that kill her.
Hmm.
And when I was born, my parents, my mom and my grandma who was staying with us, they would do everything to protect me from the evil spirits. And while I was growing, this fear was also growing in me, not being protected enough. And one thing that I can recall very easily, Alyssa, I will sleep at night and I will have terrible nightmares, uh, as if some divinities were attacking me in the form of animals. I will wake up sweating and crying. And what would make things worse, I will sleep again and the dream
You keep going.
keep going, keep going. That was terrible. And when my father was staying at the hotel, you will hear some very strange noise on the roof, on the steel roof, as if someone was running on this roof, or stone rolling, but you would never see anyone. You would never see any stone. And my parents, my mom and my grandma, they were convinced that the house where we were living was haunting, and that the evil spirits who killed my sister, they are coming after me. That was the context, and I grew up as a very fearful boy.
Is spiritualism something that is common in on like the Mauritius Islands? Like is like I know in certain parts of the world it's something that's a little bit maybe more common or found,
Yes,
you know.
what I will say, it is common. I- I- in my family. In my family, we were sensitive to that. We were really sensitive to that. And my parents, my grandma and my mother, they would bring me to a Hindu priest regularly, for the Hindu priest to pray over me for
So
protection.
they were Catholic taking you to a Hindu priest.
Exactly.
Interesting.
They will bring me to a Hindu, because for them, the protection, which whichever place it is coming,
They didn't care.
they
Like
don't
just
care.
try
Yeah.
all the options.
Yes, yes. And at the same time, every year they will bring me on a pilgrimage to the tomb of a 19th century Catholic priest. And I was devoted to that priest. And let me share something with you. One of the things that they committed was they would not cut my hair. Just think of me with long hairs.
I totally want to see childhood pictures now, Aniel.
They would not cut my hair until the age of 7. And that was what they were doing to protect me. But unfortunately, I felt insecure. I I was not growing nicely. Yes.
Hmm. So it sounds like most of your childhood then is kind of in this interesting state of fear,
Yes, you're right. Yes, yes.
which is
Fear.
not really what you want your early childhood years to
Definitely.
be
Definitely.
founded in.
Mm-hmm.
So at probably somewhere around these ages,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when you're about ready to cut your hair, you go to primary school,
Yes, I was
elementary school.
starting primary school.
Okay.
Starting primary school, but something very interesting happened. When I was 6, I was supposed to cut my hair at the age of 7.
Okay.
When I was 6, my dad discovered the power, the real power that is found in the Bible.
Amen.
He interacted with an Adventist pastor. He studied the Bible and he gave himself to Jesus.
Do you know how he found this Adventist pastor? Like, how did that connection happen? Because it doesn't sound like, you know, this is very just like, oh, he's right there next door or whatever.
Okay.
What was that story?
The pastor was in the village where we were where we were staying. And, you know, in those villages, in many houses, you don't have running water. You have to go and fetch water. And this pastor, in the churchyard, there was some kind of a fountain there. and my dad went there to fetch water. And probably some people know the son of this pastor. The son of this pastor is the former youth director of the World Church, Gilbert Kangi.
Okay.
Yes, his dad was the one who introduced the gospel to my father. Yes, that is. And my mom and my grandma, they say, oh, we are not following you. But if there is something good from this new church, from this new religion that can protect Aniel, we will take it. We will experience it. And this is what they did. My father told them, each time when I am not around, before the kids, because there was also my sister now, my little sister, he said, please pray with the kids first before you put them to bed. And he gave them some psalm to read. And quickly, we started realizing something. Whenever there was prayer from the Bible, not any type of prayer from the Bible, the nightmares were not coming anymore. And the sound on the roof were disappearing. And in my little mind as a boy, I started connecting the dot. Hey, praying, reading the Bible, and all these things were getting away. I said, oh, there is something there.
You found true freedom from fear.
Yes, and that would be the beginning of my, my spiritual life. That was the beginning of faith for me, that there is a power more powerful than any other powers and principalities. That was, I could breathe more easily after experiencing that. And then my mom, she said, hey, but Aniel is feeling better. Aniel is feeling better. Probably we should allow him to go to church. I went to church with my dad even before my mom went to church.
Wow.
That was my experience.
So they were very, your mom and your grandmom, it sounds like they would do everything they could to protect you.
Yes.
And so in a way, your story is what kind of helps lead them to this relationship with Christ.
Sure.
Very interesting. So you're going through your elementary school years. Now, I'm going to guess it's a public school?
No.
Or do you go to an Adventist school?
I went to a Catholic school.
A Catholic, okay. Or a Catholic school.
Yes.
Okay.
Because in the village where I grew, there was no Adventist school. And we have to say that Adventism is quite small in Mauritius. The population of Mauritius is just 1.2 million people, and there is only 5,000 baptized Adventist members in Mauritius. The bulk of the population are Hindus, in probably 60%, and then you have some Muslim. Muslim would be 10%, and Christianity will represent just 20 to 25%. Okay. So, in those days, it has evolved.
As it does.
Yes.
So you have, you're going to a Catholic school.
Yes.
You're attending an Adventist church.
True.
Okay. Did that ever conflict in your mind?
Not at all.
Or not?
Not at all. No. I was very comfortable with my friends, with my teachers, and I even tried to witness to my little friends. My only challenge when I was at school, primary, and then when I started middle school and even high school, I was very shy. And this is something that I kept with me for many years. And my shyness was, how to put it? My shyness was related to a speech problem I had in those days. I was stammering. This is what we say? Stuttering. Yeah. Yes.
I think stammering? All of a sudden, I can't remember if that's a word or not.
Both.
I think it might be.
Yes.
We're going to go with both of them being words.
Yes.
My brain can't think of it
Let me
today.
explain probably why I could not complete one full sentence without stopping all the time. the words won't come out. And my parents never brought me to a speech therapist. Probably they don't even know about one. My grandmother, she would always tell me, Aniel, think before you speak. But I was thinking. Probably I was thinking too much. But
Stop thinking so much.
but the words were not coming out. And when you have such a problem, life can be miserable with your good friends around you in the class. Even when you know the answer, when the teacher is asking a question, you better not raise your hands, because if you start to speak, all the class will burst in laughter.
Oh.
That was terrible. And on the field, on the playground during recess, it was hard. It was so hard for me, because when you say, pass the ball is gone, and no one wants to pick you in their team. And I grew up with that. But
So what happened? Because you don't stutter now. Did you end up going through therapy, or you just?
Alyssa, this is the second great miracle of my life, Alyssa. While I was growing, probably I was at the age of 8, I was impressed by my church pastor. My local church pastor. Some people know him, probably. That's why I will mention his name, Stenio Gangadu. You know Daryl?
Yes, I do.
Daryl and I, we grew up together.
Right, so Daryl Gungadu's dad.
Yes, his dad was my local church pastor. We had very good relationship. He was visiting us. And every Sabbath, I will go to church. I was sitting on the first pew. I was admiring the man. I say, wow, I would like to speak like this man. I would like to speak like him. But I could not even make one full sentence. And gradually, I felt the call. I felt the call to be a preacher. But these two things can't work together.
How old are you when you're feeling this call?
8 years old. 8 years old. 8, 9 at most, but 8 already. I knew. And my dad was encouraging me. My mom was encouraging me to go ahead. But this thing was not clicking. I have a speech problem, and I wanted to be a preacher. I felt the call. But my mom just said, Aniel, keep pushing, and we'll pray. And I would like to say this. This has been probably the longest prayer in my life. I prayed for a solution. My family prayed for a solution. Probably for 15 years. For 15 years, I have struggled with this problem. I remember when I was in the seminary, I had to do my class in homiletic. I'm sure the teacher, the lecturer, he did not hear a memorable sermon on that day, because the words were not coming out at all, Alyssa. But fortunately, I had to write the sermon, therefore I got the passing grade.
He's like, you can write a good sermon. The preaching, we're not sure yet.
Just to bring us back, I was 13 years old. The first time I had to go on the pulpit in my small local church, 30 members, and my task was to read the mission story. You know, the mission story that we used to read. I stood up to read the mission story, but after some few lines, someone will just come behind and say, Aniel, you can sit down. That was devastating. But I know the person, he was seeing that I was struggling. I could not. But the thing is, I wanted to speak. I wanted to be used by God to preach, to share His word. But there was this natural handicap. And should I share the miracle day?
Go for it.
Okay.
We can kind of go. We can kind of go out of our. And remember to be careful at the table. I'm
Yes.
just gonna say it out loud.
Yes. It was. I finished my theology at the age of 22.
Okay.
I finished, and I was hired by my local conference. And
The Mauritius?
Mauritius
Okay.
conference, yes. And they assigned me to a church, middle-sized church, 300 members probably. And after 2 or 3 weeks, the senior pastor told me, Aniel, it's your time to preach now. It's your time to preach. I said, yes, it's my time to preach. And I came to the, during the whole week, I write my sermons. I write them properly. I write. But I know that even after writing, that doesn't mean I will be able to deliver the sermon. I came to the pulpit praying hard, but sweating at the same time and heart pounding, and say, Lord, this has been a long journey. And if I fail today, probably this is the end. How am I going to continue if I can't preach? I remember the sermon I chose, Zacchaeus, probably because I'm short. That was my first sermon to preach as an intern pastor. I stood up. The first word, first sentence, and the words kept flowing. The words kept flowing out. First paragraph, second paragraph. I kept preaching until the end. And the sermon was over. Wow, this was the miracle of my life. And this was one of the confirmation of my calling. And from that, I'm getting something that has led me through my life. When God calls you, don't look at what you can't do at this time, but He will surely equip, empower in His time. And if one of us listening or viewing this recording, if you are praying, remember that God's timing is the best. When the time will come, He will make it for you.
I'm tearing up actually with this because, so many of us really struggle with the timing.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt a call from a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
But by all appearances, you should never have gone into the ministry.
Mm-hmm. True.
Like by human
understanding.
understanding.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense. You don't bring in a pastor who can't preach a sermon.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Mauritius conference picked you up and even put you in a church.
They were graceful.
That your pastor was like, okay, you're going to preach now. Whatever. But the moment
mm-hmm.
that you truly accepted this calling and saying, nope, God,
mm-hmm.
this is your calling,
mm-hmm.
and I'm going to preach this sermon.
Mm-hmm.
That all those years led to this moment of faith.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what this is.
Sure.
It's a testimony to your faith that you continue to go, even though it didn't make sense. And then in that moment, God's like, I just needed to know, kind of a thing, and He gives you that power. He gives you the Spirit, and it's such a beautiful testimony to faithfulness to your call. Not just saying, well, this doesn't work out. It doesn't make sense. God, give me another call. You were relentless in pursuing what He called you to. It's beautiful. And then God worked a miracle within you when you accepted that faithfulness.
And when I reflect on that, I'm thankful for the parents I had, praying parents. I'm thankful for my local church, because after the incident of me who had to sit down, they kept giving me other opportunities. And they bear with me. They asked me to teach the Sabbath school class. They kept giving me opportunities. And I'm thankful to the conference. And today, we sometimes expect our young people to be the best from the start. We don't want to coach anyone. We want to use the final, refined product. Probably we are missing a lot. Let us invest in those who are still raw, really raw, and we can refine them for God's glory.
Most of us are still being refined too, so
Definitely.
we shouldn't expect perfection out of others when we ourselves are not perfect.
Yes.
So,
Hmm.
so you went to seminary. Let's back up just a little bit
Yes,
here.
yes.
Let's talk about this. So you felt called around, these early years,
Hmm.
eight-ish, to become a pastor.
Hmm.
So you go through a Catholic school. Do you stay
Hmm.
in Catholic school all the way through like the high school years,
No,
or?
no. For middle school and high school, I went to a public school.
Okay.
Yes.
So now you're in the public school setting,
Yes.
but you're still faithfully going to church. Do you
Yes.
ever struggle with your faith at all?
Yes. But you will be surprised that my struggle with my faith was not when I was at the Catholic school, not when I was in the high school, but when I was in seminary.
Okay. Well, let's jump to the seminary.
Okay.
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 Is there something that you don't want me to miss?
No.
Because if so, you
Let
can
me
tell
share
me.
something
Okay.
before we go to seminary. Uh, at the age of 17, I completed high school. And for me, in my mind, as soon as I finish high school, I'm going to do my theology. That was clear in my mind. And Mauritius, in those days, we were part of Africa Indian Ocean Division. And those who wanted to study theology, they were going to Rwanda.
Okay.
Yes. It was in the year 1991. I applied to go to Rwanda because it was a church scholarship. My parents could not afford sending me to any other school, a church scholarship. I was accepted, but some few months or week, I can't recall perfectly, we will receive a message, you can't come to Rwanda. Because 1991 was the genocide year. What are we going to do now? And then say, okay, we will try something else. We will try to send you to India. This is what the conference said. We try to send you to India because it is still affordable. I applied for Spicer Memorial College. I was accepted by the school, but then when I applied for the visa, I could not get a student visa to go to India. September already. Now I was confused. For 1 year, I was I was a literature evangelist for 1 year, and this also has really helped me. The stammering literature evangelist. That was.
I feel like that's like a book title, right? We can write a book on that.
Yes, and then I was confused. I said, Lord, I have chosen to dedicate my life. I have chosen not to do anything else but to go to study to become a pastor. But now, September, all the schools are already starting the school year, and I'm still waiting. No answer. Where is it? Where are you, God? Where are you, God? Where are you? I want. In 1 month, it was probably early October. First week of October, I received a call from the conference, and the president asked me, can you please come to the office? When I arrived there, he introduced me to a gentleman, complete stranger to me. His name is Regis. He said, here is Regis, he wants to talk with you. And Regis, he simply asked one question. Is it true that you want to become a pastor and you want to study theology? I said, yes. And then he said, where do you want to go? I said, I'm ready to go anywhere, but we tried Rwanda, we tried India. These were the affordable schools, but we could not. I was not accepted, and Rwanda is closed. And he said something. He said, Aniel, I don't know you, but your president is saying, help this man, help this young boy. He said, you choose any school in the world and I will send you. I said, what? Any school in the world and I will send you? He said, yes. And I pick a school. I picked Collonges in France. After 3 weeks, I was there.
Wow.
It was just like in a dream. He paid my first school year, and he ended up paying almost my first 3 school years.
Wow, that is such a...
It was not cheap. And the lesson for me is giving can change the life of someone. This is, he gave and he changed the course of my life. And my mom will always remind me this. She will say, you know, Aniel, if your dad has kept all his tithe during all the years he has worked, if he had kept all the offerings, saved them in the bank, still we won't have the money to send you there. This is God's blessings. Amen. Remember that always. I say, yes, Mom. It is God's blessing.
I am loving your life story here. What I love too is that your conference president, did he go to church with you? Or like, how did you know him?
No, I was going to the ABC, which was next to the conference, and he knew me mostly through my publishing director. He said, this guy, he's trying. He's trying.
Really trying.
He's trying. Yeah, this guy is trying, and this is it.
It's such an incredible thing because, you know, he also listened to the Spirit. So when this guy is asking, like, you know, is there a student or something, you know, he called on for you, even with your stammering. You know, he knew that this was your call.
Yes,
and that's just beautiful. Another beautiful sign. Yeah. And I love that as a leader.
This is spiritual leadership. I think
really
this man was spiritual. He's still alive. He's 93 today, and his name is Daniel Geo. He's still alive, and the publishing director, Francis Fidelia, these people, they are marvelous.
You know, it's easy as leaders to look for what seem like the best person, the one with the most, you know, perfect looking resume. But there's some things that aren't on a resume. It's this purpose and desire, and it doesn't look like a skill, but just this passion for the Lord and passion for the church. And I love that even though all the perfect skills didn't look like they were checked off, he saw deeper in your heart. You know, it's kind of like how with King David, God saw his heart. He saw within him. And I feel like the conference president saw within you.
Praise God for that. Yes.
So you go to Cologne.
Yes.
Now I'm going to ask, was there a beautiful woman by any chance that you met at Cologne or not yet?
After some time, yes.
Okay.
After
because I know at some point Micheline has to enter this picture. So
yes.
Is it during your Cologne years?
No. Micheline was in Mauritius. Yes.
Because she speaks French.
Yes.
Do you speak French on the Mauritius Islands?
Yes, for sure.
Oh, yes. So all you listeners who now are now know where Mauritius Islands are. Now you also know that the Mauritius Islands speak French.
Yes.
So see, look at that. We're just like, we're having a whole geography lesson here too.
Mauritius has been a French colony and has kept the French culture even when it became a British colony.
Okay. Well, then we're going to pretend I've never even mentioned her name since this is not going to happen in Cologne.
Yes.
So tell me a little about your years at Cologne.
The first few months went well. But then, as 18 years old, discovering new freedom, new reality, things started to drift away. At some point, my life motto in those days became, the more you are crazy, the more you have fun.
Well, I mean, it's accurate depending on your description of fun.
You see what I mean?
I do.
Yes. And I started doing crazy things, because I felt that I was by myself. I was testing new things, living new life situations, circumstances. And my studies were not going well. I started arriving late at in class. I started missing classes. But not only in my studies, I started also going late to church. And after some time, not attending church. And reasoning, saying, oh, I can just listen to the radio. Or watch something on a DVD. Because what's the purpose of just going there? And I ended up for almost 1 year not really praying, not really going to church.
So are you in a theology track
Yes,
at this?
this is.
I just want to make sure
this is
that...
what is terrible. The only time I was studying the Bible was in class and to revise for my assignments. I was doing theology.
So why did you stay with theology then?
Very good question. I
know.
Very good question. I have considered at some point leaving theology, but the thing was not really shaping up. I say, okay, what happened is, okay, I will finish the first 2 years, the diploma, and then I will move to mathematics. This is what...
Really? Come on.
I will use...
At least pick a fun subject.
I will move to math. And I will move to math or psychology. These were the two things.
That's better.
These
I'll let you
the
do that one.
Yes, I will move to either math or psychology. But then, and then there was a friend. She observed that I was not going to church, and she said, "You know, Aniel, would you like to come and help?" I said, "Help? What can I do?" They say, "We are looking for volunteers to take care of very young. I say, young people? The age of 3 to 5. I say, I don't sing. I don't know how to tell stories. I said, no, just come. And after probably 10 months, I went back to church. Just being there and helping these kids. Alyssa, I have to tell you that what was missing in my church experience, I have found it there. The joy of serving. Not doing something special, no, by just helping the kids. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I kept going. And gradually that brought me back to church.
Do you think that sometimes
to church?
We don't allow people to serve enough? Like we just don't ask people because we don't think that they have all the qualifications, or like they saw that you weren't there, but they actually brought you in to serve, and in serving, it brought you back each week.
You know, I have reflected on that probably we are losing a lot of our young people, not because they don't know, but because they are not involved. We are not being intentional in involving them in service. Because the sermon, you can listen from your bed, from your room.
If you want to. But
the joy of service, you can't have it by being alone.
That's fundamentally what church is. It's this coming together of people.
You
can't do it by yourself.
For a purpose.
Yes.
Coming together for a purpose. And this has helped me. This has helped me to come back. And then after some time, I was a deacon in my church, because this was a big church, a big university church. They did not need a man like me. This is what I felt. I was going there every Sabbath, but as if it wasn't making any difference. But the day that I started serving, doing something, it changed the course of my life. And I finished my second year, my diploma, and now I don't want to stop. I say, no, I'm continuing. I want to finish my 4 years. I want to go back. I want to go back and serve. And I finished my 4 years. And 3 days after my graduation, I didn't want to stay in France. I love France. But 3 days after my graduation, I took my plane and I went back to Mauritius and I started serving. I said, praise God, you saved my life. He's always saving my life. From myself, from others, from the evil spirit. He's always saving my life.
Well, I'm glad he does, because your life is one worth saving. So you come back to Mauritius, you serve at a church. How many years are you at like the local pastor level?
Mauritius being a small conference, sometimes you serve at the local church and you serve at the conference at the same time. After 1 year in this local church, the youth director of my conference, his name is Christian, and he told me, Aniel, would you like to come and help me? And I started helping him. I don't even know if the title was associate or not, but I started helping him in the youth ministry. And he was a great coach. He has not studied youth ministries. He's not even a pastor, but he was passionate for the youth. And for him, his philosophy was, don't try to address issues through discussion, but involve them. That was his philosophy. Involve them, and all these things will
get figured out.
Yes, this is what I learned from him. And after 3 years, he coached me so well that I became the youth director of my local conference. And from there, I became the youth director of the union.
Now, I want to know what union it is, but I want to make sure that somehow we don't miss in the story the beautiful lady part. So wherever she's,
good.
Because she's going to be mad if we get through this whole thing, and it was just me randomly mentioning her. So we want to keep her happy. Where does Micheline come?
Where Micheline come from? Micheline was the daughter of my first elder. This is the good one. Yes.
Good job.
Yes.
That's how you keep your elders happy. Well, sometimes maybe not happy.
And she was living just next door.
To the church.
To the church, yes. And she was always there for prayer meeting. She was always there for all the meetings. And I remember we were preparing some evangelistic campaign, always ready to help. And I said, hey, that's interesting. This is how we started working together for the church, and the friendship grew. And at the same time, I was, beside being the intern pastor, I was also the chaplain at the high school where she was.
Okay. You wear a lot of hats.
Yes, that was the good coincidence. Therefore, I was seeing her during the week at the high school, and on Sabbath and Wednesday evening, I was seeing her at church. This is how we get connected with each other.
Now, was she in high school or teaching at the high school?
In high school.
She was in high school. And you graduated from college?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So just following the story here.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm obviously have to wait for her to get out of high school. So
we married after she left high school.
That's good to know. Good to know. You guys are a precious couple. I mean, absolutely precious. So you serve as youth director.
Yes.
At your union. What union was that?
The union is called Indian Ocean Union.
Okay.
This union is found in Madagascar. Madagascar, and this union is servicing several islands.
Now, does that mean you moved to Madagascar
Yes, we
from
moved to
Mauritius?
Madagascar. Yes, yes.
Okay.
We moved to Madagascar, serving there. And yes, yes.
So, how many years were you at the Indian Ocean Division? And were they always as youth director?
I was there for some years, and then I came back to Mauritius. And then in 2005, I started in church administration as the executive secretary of the conference, of Mauritius conference.
Okay.
But I kept doing youth ministries.
Okay.
Yes.
Because you still love youth.
Yes, I was still doing youth ministries, and one thing that we tried and is Voice of Youth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and because since I was working with Christian, the former youth director of the conference, I realized the potential in the youth. When you mobilize them, what you can accomplish is just phenomenal. And
It's true.
we mobilize the youth running youth campaigns. And for the very first time, there was significant growth in the whole church. At some point, our growth rate, which was usually between 3 to 4% per year, we were now at two figures, 10%, 11%, because the youth were now driving evangelism throughout the conference. That was, and when I was the conference secretary, I had a great conference president. I was still very young. I was 30 years old, and he coached me very well. I'm thankful. God has placed some marvelous people on my way.
I can tell.
Yes.
So you come back to Mauritius and serve as executive secretary.
Yes.
Where do you go from there?
I became the president of the conference.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So you became the president of the Mauritius Islands.
Yes, I became.
And you're still involving youth, I'm guessing.
at
Maybe not
this-
working in youth.
Not working
but-
in youth, but now I was working in evangelism. President of the conference and evangelism. And then after that, after my term as a president of the conference, we moved back to Madagascar as the union president. This has been my years of service until now in the Indian Ocean Union.
So you moved to Madagascar. You served for how many years?
I served 4 years there.
As the union president.
As the union president. And before the end of the term, I was called to the division to serve in the Stewardship Ministries. And
so what is your background in stewardship? Because I love your eyes.
This is another
and which division is that as well?
Great story. What is my background? When I was serving as a union president, this union was doing very well before I came. I don't take any credit in that. Before I came, this union was growing. It was a union probably in those days with 150,000 church members, and that was fantastic. But it was a union of mission, which that mean is the union was still depending on the division for mainly allowances. Why? Because the finances was the weak point of this union. And we'll discuss in the church committee, in the union committee, say, hey, we need to find a good stewardship director. We need to find a good stewardship director because this is where we need to grow. This is where we need to grow. And then I don't know how the idea came forward. Say, while we search for one, it would be good if the president can take care of stewardship.
Just put on another hat.
and I say, oh, this can work. This can work nicely. And I started in stewardship like that. I started learning about stewardship, reading the book of Ben Maxon and all those who have written in this area, George Reed and others. And the good thing is, something became clear to my mind that stewardship is not only about teaching tithe and offering, the theology, because our members, they knew about that. What was missing was, how do we do church? Creating a conducive, administrative, and pastoral context that will influence and motivate members to give. And being the president, it was somehow in harmony with my work. Let us create the best condition in our local churches for us to push forward, for us to lead members to partner with the church. And it has worked by God's grace. After 3 years, the union qualified to become a union conference. This is how it turned out. And this union is still growing. When we started there in 2010, this union was probably, there was 3 conferences and 3 mission. Today, this union has 8 conferences and 1 mission who is already on track.
Wow.
To become.
That's a pretty big difference.
Yes, and I strongly believe that the day that this union decided to major in stewardship, things have changed completely in this union.
So you go to the division. Now, which division is this?
Southern Africa Indian Ocean Division.
Which is headquartered in?
Pretoria.
Okay.
Yes.
South Africa. So you live there for how many years?
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
4.5 years.
So when you were called to the General Conference, was it during a session?
No.
Nope.
It was in between. It was in the year 2018. Yes.
Okay.
2018, it was during an annual council that I was called. Yes.
So, I mean, you're serving, you've always just served, done whatever God has kind of called you to do. When you got the call that the General Conference was wanting to, I mean, you guys have lived kind of in these, this one division. You've been in, Mauritius Islands, and I mean, you did go to Cologne, but it's Mauritius Islands, Madagascar. These are all like really close to each other.
3 hours by plane. Yes.
What was it like? One, just coming to America, because it's a big difference. And at this point, you have a son.
Yes, right.
A young son, and you're kind of uprooting your whole family, taking them across the world, Southern Hemisphere to Northern Hemisphere. All this different stuff. What was that like?
There was many questions. An answered question. But my life trajectory has taught me something. The best place to be is where God is calling you to be. You may not understand everything, but just go with it. This is very naive faith, but this has been my life all through these years. Go where God is calling you to be. Probably I put too much trust in the nominating committee, in the leaders of the church, but I still believe that they are God's instruments. This is for my life, at least for my life. I cannot answer for others, but I can answer for my life.
I think it's a pretty resounding one from all the leaders I talk to. So you've been serving up here. How has the adjustment gone, just culturally and everything like that, for your family? What were some of the blessings that you had when you came here? What were some of the challenges?
The blessing is there was a church family waiting for us. I mean, we met you.
That was the best part of it, right?
Oliveras. We had some other friends that we have worked with in the past. We met them here, and that was the good thing. Wherever you are in the world, you have a family when you
So true.
belong to the church. This has been our experience, but I have to tell you, we are still learning. After 5 years now, we're still learning to adapt in a new culture, in a new place, because things that when you grow up in a place, after some time, many things become just. But for me, we had to start again. Just my driving license, I had to redo my driving license, and in South Africa, we were driving on the left side of the road. Here, you drive on the right side. I don't know why, but
Because
all
it's the right side.
the
It's the right side.
Okay. All these small things,
Mhm.
but the church has been here. Yes, it has helped. Yes.
Aniel, if there was one thing
Mhm.
that you want to leave our viewers with, what would be the one thing that you would like to remind them or let
Okay.
them know?
First thing is, all is about grace. When I reflect on my life journey is from nothing to life. This sentence for me summarizes well my life journey, from nothing to life. And secondly, my life purpose that I would like just to share with your viewers is all in faithful partnership with Him, accomplishing the final mission. This is what I would like to say. This is my life dream today, to mobilize all to be in full partnership with God, accomplishing the final mission. What we need for this mission, God has already provided. Let us use it. Probably it is still raw. It is still in a shape and form that is not no. But let us mobilize everything. Let us bring who we are and what we have to the altar, and God will use it. And He has done it for me. He's still doing it for me and through me, and He will do it. He will do it. And let us have the greatest consideration for the young people of our church. They are the church of today, and let us use them. Let us partner with them for God's glory. Forward and stronger. This is my last word.
Thank you so much, Aniel, for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of A&N Profiles with my guest, Aniel Barbe. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to our podcast, YouTube channel, whatever it is you're tuning into today. I don't want you to miss any future episodes. Thank you for spending this time with us. Join me next week as I continue to get to know the life stories of more inspiring people.